In the fall of 2025, a new hire started the graveyard shift at the Sunrise Diner, sitting right off Interstate 95. During the day, the diner operated through a predictable rotation of local families and passing truckers. At night, the diner exists as a liminal space, a transitional environment that functions outside of normal societal rhythms. Out on this stretch of the highway, cellular networks drop out and external observation vanishes, leaving the building entirely isolated from the rest of the world. The physical layout of the building reinforces this isolation. A strict boundary divides the brightly lit, open-plan public dining area from the completely sealed-off, unseen kitchen in the back. This geographical and temporal isolation creates a vacuum. Without the stabilizing presence of daytime crowds or external communication, the standard rules of reality can be suspended without anyone outside noticing. The night manager, Ms. Lila, understood the nature of this vacuum. Before the new hire's first shift, she issued one strict, non-negotiable directive. After 11 p.m., the swinging kitchen doors stay closed. The parameters were absolute. The kitchen was to remain entirely isolated. If the graveyard shift ran out of plates or supplies, they waited until morning. If the kitchen door ever opened on its own, the employee was to immediately leave and never return. Miss Lila explained the necessity of these rules with a single observation. Some things cook themselves. She was describing an autonomous entity that operated within the building. This architectural schematic shows how the layout focuses on a single choke point between the public floor and the kitchen. Miss Lila's rules ensured that whatever occurred in that back room remained behind that door, separate from the rest of the diner's ecosystem. The baseline conditions held stable for the first few nights, but at 2:15 a.m. on a slow Thursday, the dining room was empty. There was zero kitchen staff on site, and the swinging doors were physically locked down. Then, the first auditory anomaly began. A persistent metal-on-metal scraping started echoing from directly behind the physical barrier of the locked door. The scraping abruptly stopped. In its place, a low hum started up. It sounded like an industrial oven fan, but deeper and distinctly wet, a biological element introduced into a mechanical system. The protagonist relied on a standard psychological defense mechanism: denial. They ignored the sound and poured more coffee. While a common human reaction, ignoring the anomaly left the movement behind the door unchecked. By 3 a.m., the sound profile escalated. The wet hum morphed into rhythmic, heavy chopping on a cutting board, followed by the aggressive sizzle of raw heat. Then came the olfactory manipulation. The distinct, rich scent of sweetmeat began seeping under the door, filling a space where all fryers and grills were documented as being turned off. The protagonist broke protocol. They pulled out their phone and attempted to text Miss Lila, explicitly acknowledging the sounds coming from the kitchen. Sending that text functioned as a formal acknowledgement of the anomaly. By reaching out, the protagonist broke the quiet rule that kept the entity within the kitchen stable and contained. At 4 a.m., all the biological sounds abruptly stopped. Dead silence fell over the diner. Then, deliberate, heavy footsteps in boots began approaching the barrier from the inside. The environment was physically manipulated. The metal door handle clicked and turned. The door pushed open just a fraction of an inch, blocked only by an unseen, heavy mass leaning against it from the dark side. A voice slipped through the crack in the door. It explicitly asked if the protagonist was hungry, addressing them by their exact first name. The voice was wet and muffled, but it was a flawless mimicry of the protagonist's own exhausted, late-night tone. Mimicking a target's own voice is a calibrated predatory tactic. It uses the exact frequency of the prey to lower their guard and pull them toward the source of the sound. The protagonist fled to their car and waited for the sun. Upon re-entry at dawn, the diner had reset to its baseline state. The kitchen door was securely closed, completely undamaged. An impossible artifact sat waiting on the counter. It was a perfectly prepared, steaming piece of rare meat, accompanied by a handwritten note demanding sides. The presence of this artifact points to a specific expectation. The entity produced something for the protagonist, and in return, it expects a contribution to be brought back in exchange. This flowchart illustrates Miss Lila's philosophy. The rules maintain a symbiotic cycle. Observer silence ensures the entity stays contained. Breaking the quiet rule shifted its focus to the individual, moving the anomaly beyond the kitchen's physical boundary. Miles away from the Sunrise Diner, the protagonist experiences the long-term attachment. Every few nights at 3 a.m., their apartment lights flicker, the scent of meat fills the room, and the refrigerator door creaks open on its own. The Sunrise Diner served as an anchor for the entity, providing a steady stream of observers. But once the silence broke, the protagonist became the entity's primary focus and its new source of sustenance.